Birds are in the sky.
What makes a warrior is how they see challenges and adversity as opportunities. Warriors grow, prepare, and prevail through their crucibles. Whether you're active duty, retired, or veteran, whether your battlefield is in entrepreneurship, business, or just climbing life's ladder, you'll gain some of what makes a warrior. Insight. Lessons of grit, adaptability, and the warrior's spirit will inspire you to smash through anything that stands in the way of your mission. Buckle your seatbelt as fellow U.S. Marines, Emmy Award winner Colonel Riccoh player, and international best-selling author Zachary Green interview fellow warriors and share how they conquered their crucibles.
Yes, sir. We're gonna smoke them.
All right, here we are from the Tavern Tavern here in Hilton Head Island, South Carolina. Sir, what episode are we on?
Episode number 13.
Lucky 13.
Baker's dozen.
Hey,
outstanding.
I like that.
That's perfect. We've got a really exciting episode today. I first met Phillipe actually one of the very first days when we moved down here to Hilton Head. We have a mutual friend of ours, John Robert de Cavell, who is a world-class, amazing chef, and he said, when you come down to the island, you've got to find my buddy Phillipe. And so I'm looking all around. I've heard about this place called Hilton Head Social Bakery, and everyone's talking about it. And so we show up one day, and there is a line, sir. I mean, it's like down the thing. And I finally walk in, and I see this bald guy in the back, and I said, hey, is Phillipe working here? He goes, well, I'm Phillipe. And from that point on, it was like we were brothers from another mother. So we had a great conversation, really connected, and him and his wife Marissa have just treated us like we've been friends of theirs for decades. So, Phillipe, thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, it's a pleasure. Thank you for inviting me. You know, I'm glad to be and very proud of being part of this conversation and give you a couple of nonsense of my experience.
So we can tell by your accent you didn't grow up here in Hilton Head. Is that right?
Yeah, well, a little bit more east.
So kind of walk us through your journey from where you grew up and what you do and how you ended up getting here in Hilton Head.
Well, I was born in Normandy, only like 5 miles away from the D-Day beaches, and my parents actually moved to Paris when I was a young kid, but I always had like a special attachment to where I was born. All my family is from there anyway. And then came to America in 1987. And I was in New York City for that long until 5 years ago when I came down to the island, to paradise on earth.
So tell us about what you learned in France and your jobs that you had when you were in New York City and ultimately what you started down here in Hilton Head.
Sure, I'd love to. I actually grew up in a very modest family. My parents were owning a bakery in Paris, and my sister and I, as we were so young, we were asked to help. So, which I did from my youngest age, which I hated it, and I always wanted to actually go and play with my friends, but no, I had to come and help my dad. So
in the bakery.
In the bakery, yeah.
Okay.
And when I got 16, I was trying to find any ways to get out of the family business, so I went to cooking. So from there, I worked in 2- and 3-star restaurants in France, but I realized that very quickly that in each restaurant I was going to, I was always having a better position because I didn't even realize it myself, but I already had skills.
And real quick, explain what the Michelin stars. Some of our listeners may not be familiar with that. Can you explain the rating and how rare that is?
The top rating of restaurants in France is a 3-star Michelin. So that's where, this is the top of the pile.
And how many 3-star restaurants would you say there are?
I don't know exactly, to be honest, because it changed every year.
But Like a
But-
dozen maybe, or
Don't cut me on that. I just I don't know exactly.
so it's the top of the top. We're
What I
talking
do
more than
know
the top
is that
1%.
it's extremely difficult to get into the 3-star rating restaurants in France. It's really the top of the top. So when I realized that I had already an experience which I didn't even know because I was quite young. Every time I was leaving one of those restaurants when I had enough, I was going back to with my dad for like 6 months to a year. Then when I had enough with my dad, I was going back to the restaurant. So I did that pretty much for 11 years until I came to America. And my goal was to, growing up in Normandy where everything happened, I always wanted to come and visit the country that free us from you know what. So it was always my goal to come to America and have my own experience. The idea was to stay 1 year in New York, then going to the West Coast and travel more or less the whole country. Never happened. I went to New York and stayed in New York for about 30 years. I really experienced a lot of incredible experience in my industry, and as well as the people that I met and that I did work with or I did work for. I was first a chef in a catering company. Then I went to as a chef to a restaurant. Let me start from the back. From the end of.
Okay.
I actually opened. I was the executive chef of Windows on the World, on the top of the Twin Towers. Before that, I opened a restaurant called Café Central, which is a very well-known restaurant in the MetLife building. Then I was the chef also of the Morris at the Parker Meridian. Then before that, the banquet chef at Tavern on the Green.
And for those of you that aren't foodies, he's just literally listed off the absolute, not just top restaurants in New York City. These are some of the top restaurants in the world.
So to clarify it for even more, so the poor kid from Cleveland, you would only hear about these in movies.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been to Tavern on the Green, but the others, it was that's what the rich people talked about.
This is, and even the rich people can't usually get a table at these restaurants. They're pretty incredible. So you've obviously checked every box you could in the culinary world, but you've always been working for somebody else. It sounds like up to this point in time. Is that right?
That's correct. When I left Windows on the World, it was about in 2000, just a few years before 9/11, and I knew it was my time to leave those big places because I was afraid to stay there for too long and being totally attached to my salary. Because back then it was, I was making a big amount of money. In '96, my salary was $167,000.
Wow.
And back then, we're talking about maybe $300,000-$400,000 today.
Yeah. And
So-
in the culinary industry, you don't usually make that kind of money.
No.
So that's
And there's really only one position like this in the world, in the entire country. So I was very concerned and afraid that I will be too, almost like a drug addict at it. So earlier on, I had goals in my life. And on my youngest ages, I wanted to be a chef at 30. I wanted to be an owner of my own business at 40. I wanted to be a millionaire at 50. That I didn't reach it yet.
you're getting
And
close.
I'm more than that.
No, you're getting close.
and I'm way more than that. But it was the time for me to, we say, cash out and start my own business.
So this is a pretty big change. So we go from the largest city in the entire world, arguably the best culinary scene there is probably outside of Paris, to this little tiny island in the middle of South Carolina. How the world did that happen?
No. You have 10 years, even more, like 15 years between that.
Okay.
I opened actually 3 restaurants. I opened 3 restaurants in less than a year and a half, which is totally insane.
Okay.
You know, when you think that you are, Arnold Schwarzenegger, and then nothing can stop you. I thought that was one of those, but pretty quickly I realized that it's not that easy. Not that easy. So there was more opportunities that were coming to me, and I was like, I couldn't say no. But anyway, at one point I had 3 restaurants and a catering company in New York City. And I did really a lot of fun stuff. I had no partners except my first wife, and which divorced me because of that. And I pretty much worked my 15 years like day in, day out, like non-stop, from 2 o'clock in the morning when I was going to Hunts Point doing my food shopping twice a week, to until midnight because we had to close the restaurants.
Wow.
So, and then it is true. It's not just by saying it is. It really is, and that happened for at least 12 years.
So how did you make that transition from the big hustle bustle, big money, to literally coming down to little Hilton Head Island where I don't think you even had a plan, did you?
No, actually what happened is, unfortunately, like I told you, my first wife had enough, so she divorced me. I lost my businesses. Then I went to something totally different. I went to construction and furniture design. And then that was for about 5 years. And I did very well. And around like 55, 56, I realized that really what I was good for was the food industry. I was good with the rest also, but I was known, and my real background is what you grew up, with, and that was the food industry. So it was my time to leave New York and start to look around, and my idea was to really move south and on the beach. So East Coast, West Coast, Gulf Coast. I didn't care. I didn't mind at all. I was ready to leave New York City. And first broker that got back to me is a gentleman that I'm also a very good friend that you met at the party that we had for Christmas. He was from here. So he actually asked me if I knew anything about Hilton Head. No idea, never heard about it before. Didn't even know that it was on the map. So came on the first week of January 2016, fell in love. It was like 70 degrees over here. It was maybe 15 degrees in New York, snowing like crazy. I'm like, I wanted to know, but when I had to push the door of the airport going back to New York, my hand didn't want to push it. So anyway, it was definitely a good trip for me to realize that I could redo my life somewhere else and start over again, which I did. But most of all, it was something really incredible that happened was when I was here on the first week of January, I met some other people that asked for my contact number, saying that maybe that they will have somebody that will actually be interested to talk to me about some opportunities on the island. And maybe a few days after I went back to New York, I received an email and a phone call saying such and such are going to get in touch with you. They know you from New York. I'm like, okay. So, good enough. One of the manager of Shelter Cove Marina, who actually works for represent Greenwood on the island, used to live 2 blocks away from one of my restaurants in New York City. So we reconnect quickly, and then she offered. She says, "If you're looking to come on the island, stop looking. I will give you an offer that you will never refuse." Came back like 2 days later. The deal was done in 20 minutes, and then, 4 months later, I was here.
And tell us a little bit about where the Hilton Head Social Bakery is now, and give us some idea on the volume and some of the interviews and accolades you've had just in the last couple of months.
Well, I think that every business and they're all different. Some of the new owners have it easier than others, but overall, I think that you pretty targeted pretty well. You have to be a warrior. You have to really be focused and not being afraid about who might knock on your door, just asking you for something that you have to change, or something that you have to do, or something that you didn't do, or something that. So you really have to be strong physically and morally, and not take a no for an answer, and not being afraid of being defeated, in a way, but never give up. When we came down, my wife and I, we first experienced a much longer period of construction, which is not unusual, a way higher cost. So when you have no money and you already are in debt, that can bring some problems. So use all the credit cards that we had. Thank God I had the same credit cards for many years, so I had a pretty good credit on it. So, but that didn't go well. And beside that, a week after we finally opened, when nobody knew us on the island, we got hit by the Hurricane Matthew. So literally we were out of business before we even started. And we just keep on going. I mean, my wife was in the front by herself, I was in the back by myself. We were eating bananas and drinking water, and then when we had a couple of dollars, I was buying a beer. And that went on for a good sometimes, but overall we got extremely lucky that we had a good feedback from the locals and the community. That we will never thank them enough. We definitely had a fantastic support from them, and from that moment on, we were like doing like 50-100% more than the year before, to the point that on our 5th year, on the month of July, we had 21,000 people walking in the door in only 1 month.
21,000 in 1 month.
When we went from literally zero and nobody knowing us, and then to those numbers, which is pretty incredible. And I think it's part of being perseverance and not taking a no for an answer. Because let me tell you, we were bankrupt already, way before we even started.
And I think that's a common trait we find with a lot of warriors, especially warrior entrepreneurs, is they just never accept no for an answer. You know, one thing that Riccoh and I have had ingrained in our soul, being Marines, is mission accomplishment, and you've really shown that. I know my partner Ricco's got a ton of questions. He's been taking notes down here, so I'd love to
Go for
turn
it.
it over to him and have him answer.
Should I take my guns out?
No, you can holster your weapons for now.
For now.
But thank you for being here. Thank you for joining us. I really,
Pleasure.
as the rookie entrepreneur of the team, I just find it fascinating that no job, debt, hurricane, any reasonable person looking in would say, well, you have every reason to quit. Well, why didn't you quit?
Well, first because I had no choice. I had no other opening. It was either that or taking a chef position in any restaurants possible or hotels, which I've done. But when you do have the taste of blood in a way, when you actually worked for a salary all your life, and all of a sudden you have like big huge salaries, and then all of a sudden you don't have any more salaries at all, and then but you develop something else, which is the excitement of being able to be growing bigger, or to have opportunities that you are personally building, and then you're gonna get the fruit from it. So when I closed my restaurants in New York City and my catering company, I was very successful, and I had actually the offer of the executive chef position at the Marriott Marquis in New York, and I'm like, I can't. I just cannot go back for a salary. I just cannot go back, even if it was like a really nice offer. And I just like, I was pretty good for the rest of my life. I'm like, I cannot. I will shoot myself. I need the excitement of going home at night and think about, okay, what else can I do? What is going to make the difference, or with my surrounding, with my family, with my customers, with my friends, and always the opportunity of doing something different, and that has no money. You know, it's like it's just, it doesn't matter if I'm broke. It's the excitement,
and that's the spirit. That's the essence of warrior entrepreneur. That's the warrior mindset. That voice telling you that the offer is there, the money's good, but would you be happy?
That's correct. You know, and I also find out that even today with my the people I'm working with, I did a system where they have a base salary, but their bonus on a weekly basis can double up, and that's what actually really motivate people's mind by being able to do better that day. If I give up, or if I'm just satisfied with what I have, then it's going to show on what I'm going to take home, and what I'm going to be able to purchase, or what I'm going to be able to live with, or what and on and on. It's the same thing as an entrepreneur. You're always going to be able to do better if you do work hard, and that's the reason why when you are an entrepreneur, you cannot go with the mindset of saying, "Oh, I'm going to have people working for me." If you go that direction, you're going to fail. You're going to fail no matter what.
The servant leadership, which is the leader serves everybody that works for that works there at that organization. Your job is to create an environment where they can flourish and not have them do things for you. That's the very manager thing to do. A leader develops other leaders, inspires other people.
Correct, yeah.
Very deep.
And then the best way to be a leader, a good leader, is to show every single one, no matter which level, what to do and how to do it. Not just telling them, is how to do it.
Sir, how would you say that correlates to your experiences in the Marine Corps?
I think for the Marine Corps, and we've talked about the leadership traits and principles, and as a leader, you're in a fishbowl. Everyone's always looking at you. But as a commander, if I don't empower the staff NCOs, the officers, the NCOs to here's my intent, execute that in whatever way you find appropriate to attack the mission. I will give you the tools and give you the top cover to be successful. And if you need help, ask for help. But if I'm not making you a better Marine, sailor, civilian after serving with me, then I failed you. If you're not inspired to, learn something, change something, improve something, then I failed you. If I don't inspire you to take whatever fundamentals we have and do something better or different with them, then I'm just going through the motions. And I think that's the same thing you do with your employees, that they come in, they know they can do it all. They may have their lane of things to cover, but if something goes down over here, they can attack, fix it, and press, keeping the business moving forward. One thing I noted is that, and this is a stretch, so give me a little bit of grace, but if you could go back and not necessarily completely change, what happened before in your life, but if there was a period you could go back and do something different, is there an area where you would do something different compared to how things are today?
As a joke, yes. I would have married my second wife first.
I never met the first one, but the second one's pretty awesome. I can tell you that much right now.
And it's not a joke, also, because your best partner, no matter what, is your spouse. In any way, even if your spouse has no direct connection with what you do as a Marines, I don't think that you take your wife on a mission, but you get the support.
Absolutely. So when we deploy, and the saying is, I can go down range and engage the enemy if I know mama's all right at home. If she's good, has the support networks, has the friends and family supporting, then I can focus on engaging the enemy. Same thing in business. If mama's happy, everybody's happy.
That's right, yeah. So that's definitely, I would say, the major thing, because we all know that behind a successful man, there is a woman. There is a wonderful woman.
Absolutely.
And then that's where I'm lucky that today, after everything I went through, New York City, I could have done way more than what I'm doing over here, but I never could because I never had the support that I have with my second wife that is there every single day, day in, day out. Come home at night, working on the paperwork, and even on the weekend she's at work in an office. So that is just. So my recommendation is be sure you go to the screening before you get married if you want to be an entrepreneur.
Very well. And with that, I think that's a good note to end on here. This has been great. Phillipe, how can people get in touch with you? How can they learn about Hilton Head Social Bakery?
Well, we, at every business that you start, you have to try to, and that's what I actually always try as a chef, is always to come up with a recipe that nobody else had,
okay,
or the one that nobody did for so many years. So when I came here, and a lot of business were extremely well established already, obviously, as we know, and I'm like, what am I going to do to be different? So I really went around and pretty much did one or two restaurants at night, and same thing for lunch, and try to get the idea and the buzz of the island. And there is 320 restaurants on this island. So I said, for me to bring another restaurant, I'm gonna be like, especially not being known at all, I'm gonna be like, never gonna make it. So from what I do know, I'm like, oh, baking. Well, a lot of less bakers. It was only 3.
Okay.
So, I mean, 2 plus me, 3. So I'm like, maybe I'm not that good, but I have some experience.
Okay.
That thank God my dad forced me to actually learn. And I'm like, I'm gonna start with this first, and tiny. We opened like a 1,500 square feet little bakery, and I had ideas of maybe how I could develop like a little kiosk, big like the bar, and being still producing from where the first bakery is, which was not possible after 2-3 years, because we went from being by myself to 9 people working on production. So literally, like we were working elbow to elbows. And my recommendation would be try to establish yourself, obviously, with the less competition possible. And even if you wanted to be in the restaurant industry, if I would have not known baking, I would have tried to find a concept that was not already established on the island, to at least try to make a difference, or make people curious about, hey, maybe let's try this Guatemalan restaurant, something different.
Right.
And even on the new bakery that we just opened 2 weeks ago, on the design that I did, I really wanted to do something different. I just didn't want to do another bakery, like you can find millions, around the world. I said, what can make this place different? And that's what I try to do. It's just being different.
One of my favorite quotes is, don't try to be the best, try to be something that nobody else is, and that way, because if you're the best, someone's going to always knock you off. They're always gunning for that man at the top of the mountain, but if you can do something no one else is doing, that's unique. Well, sir,
I actually just have to add something to that, if you don't mind. There is no best. There is no best. We all are different. Yeah. We all have different background. We all have different experience. But none of us are the best.
That's a great point. Great thing
I believe that, honestly. I really do.
I couldn't agree more. Well, with that, we come to the end of this episode. As we do with all of our episodes, we'd like to dedicate it to a fallen veteran, a fallen service member that has gone before us and given us the freedom we have. And so with that, Colonel Player is going to read our dedication to this episode.
For this episode, dedicating it to Vincent T. Ben Blas, who survived a Japanese prison camp during World War II and later became a Marine Corps Brigadier General and Guam's representative in Congress. He died January 8th, 2014 at the age of 85. General Blas was 13 when he was captured by Japanese forces who overran the U.S. territory of Guam on December 8th, 1941, one day after the Japanese attack on the American naval base at Pearl Harbor. He was one of many natives held in detention camp and pressed into forced labor building airfields for the Japanese, and later held in a Japanese camp where he saw fellow inmates beheaded. After graduating in 1951 from the University of Notre Dame, he joined the Marine Corps. He served during the Korean and Vietnam Wars, and where he earned the Bronze Star Medal. When he was promoted to Brigadier General in 1977, General Blas became the first person from Guam and the first non-white Marine to reach the rank of general. At the time, he was Director of Information for the Marine Corps, in charge of rebuilding the image of Marines after the Vietnam War. In Congress and later in life, General Blas became known for a rueful description of the people of Guam. U.S. citizens who serve in disproportionate numbers in the military, but do not have full representation in Congress. Equal in war, unequal in peace.
And with that, we'll finish as we always do.
Semper Fidelis.
Thank you for listening to The Warrior's Voice. If you haven't, please subscribe to this show and be the first to hear new episodes with fellow U.S. Marines Riccoh Player and Zachary Green. You can also visit www.warrior-framework.com to learn more about how you and/or your business can use the Warrior Framework to conquer personal and professional crucibles.